Greetings, friends. Welcome to our space where we meet every month around the time of the new moon to share our recognitions of the previous month, this very special time, starting with the Aries of 2025 until the Pisces of 2026. We hold the yearly vigil, standing together in silence, receptive to impressions that are coming at this time of the hierarchical conclave, when the hierarchy meditates on the purpose and envisions the plan for the next 100 years for humanity. And so this period of vigilant listening, we meet once a month to share our impressions, to check in our notes and inquire the way together. This time we meet actually during the time of the exact time of the new moon. And so 53 minutes into our meeting, there will be a moment when we will pause for silent listening together. Before we start our work, I just technical detail that we have activated translation captions, so you can turn them on or off on your screen. And please make sure that the settings of languages are there correct. And so whatever language you will use to speak, to share, make sure that it's selected in the settings on the bottom of your screen. So let us start with the with the moment of alignment, and Uta will lead us in this alignment. And as always, we ask us to turn off our videos to be in meditation without being distracted by our beauty of our faces. Over to you, Uta.
Let us start with a deep breath. Collecting ourselves into our inner silence. And from this silent inner space, let us sound our own note now. Sounding it throughout our aura and our abode. And let us sound now the note of our group. Listening now to the note of groups that we know. Let's tune in for a moment with the sound and the vibration of the esoteric community. And now let us hear the note of the new group of world servers, the one planetary server, as it reverberates on our planet. As part of the one planetary server, let us now align with our higher co-workers in the ashrams. Standing a few moments together with them under the impress of Shambhala. Opening ourselves to what is now precipitating, to what is being decided in the Centennial Conclave, being now at the end of the stage of the Forerunner and the beginning of a new phase. And taking a few moments to quietly reflect on what does this new beginning mean for our work, individually, our group, the intergroup, the new group of world servers. Let us take 2 minutes. bringing our focus gently back into our present group here. Letting the impression settle for another moment in preparation for our sharing.
Thank you, Uta. And thank you, friends. I invite us now to activate our videos. And, thank you, Claire. We can turn off. Thank you. As we prepare to start our share, I want to welcome those of you who are joining the first time, our circle. And another technical note I want to bring in is that as we share, we do it in a flowing way, and we're trying to weave our impressions. And whenever pause of silence happens, we honor that silence and we recognize it as an organic process of our sharing, because we're not just sharing, as we make our offerings, we continue listening to each other and to what is coming through our group space. So floor is open, and I invite us to share our recognitions of the past month. What is unfolding plan at this time as we recognize it? When you're ready to share, just please unmute yourself. I can begin the sharing. This past month been quite intense with the inner tension coming to culmination, the inner tension of the last months and the last years, and this energy of the Capricorn, the great gate through which we pass to the time of solstice, brought to our memory at some point in one of the circles that when we were together, that's the only very few specific things that Joel Kuhl indicates, gives hints about this 2025 hierarchical conclave. And he says that at this conclave, the hierarchy will decide the timing when the reappearance will happen. And we can probably easily assume that this decision already been made. And in a way, what we see is happening in the world now, the continuously intensifying crisis that unfolds in humanity indicates towards that. That's the timing been set and the events been set in motion leading to that great event. In the book Race and Initiation, there is a section about connection of between the fourth ray and the second ray and the coming of the Christ. And there is a phrase that really resonated for me this year. I mean, this past month, that it's increased conflict in humanity is inevitable as the Christ approaching. That the increase of the Christ, the presence of the Christ energy will inevitably lead to culmination of this old conflict in humanity between those who awaken in their heart to the Christ energy and those who are still cannot recognize it yet, and they hold for the old forms and the old ways as they know it. And this conflict must happen. And that's the result of this conflict will be coming to a new level of harmony. And so if we think about what's happening in the world now through this lens, it's gives somewhat shivers in your back. Over.
Hello, Alexander and Katja and everyone else. It's Bart Cook speaking. I don't have my camera working because I'm on a small device. I don't know how to hook up the camera, but I'm the first time here, so I don't really know the protocol. But I thought the astrological alignment for this particular new moon was very, very symbolic. Apparently, the Earth is between the sun and the moon and at a new moon position. So there's no reflected light. It's working into the light of the full moon. And it's on the last degree, I believe, of Capricorn moving into Aquarius, where we're headed as the moon waxes. Yes, as it becomes increasingly full, we're going to be in the Aquarian energy. And of course, that's breaking a lot of fixed rules in government, in people's hearts, in the idea of enforced morality. Capricorn is the sign of deepest crystallization as well as the most luminous light. But no matter which direction you're going on the wheel as a soul, progressing clockwise or anti-clockwise, it still works. Lost in light supernal am I, yet on that light I turn my back. I become the instrument in Aquarius that is the water of light pouring through the chakra. Water of life is the light of consciousness. So even on the backwards, the ambition rules, the ambition to become more, and the door stands wide for learning. I just think the astrology is so wonderful. And Venus, that beautiful planet of Ray 5, is conjunct the moon and supporting wisdom to come to the fore for all people to awaken to the light. And of course, the Christ force is within each of us. It just needs to be awakened. And I think this energy of the Aquarian age is going to help ripen that seed in those who have not yet awakened to the light. Thank you.
So I can share. Certainly, I think all of us have felt the intensity of this particular month. And along with that intensity, I always look to what it is I'm guided to read, what it is I'm guided to experience, and hold that in a light so I can see where it's directing me. And I also have read in externalization in the hierarchy something that I hadn't really grasped before. And it was that at every centennial conference, hierarchy gets together to decide what crisis needs to be implemented. And that took me aback a little bit because humanity learns through crisis. So it's real clear that this time, that crisis really was our learning. And it made me really think about it. Not that I ever thought that it wasn't orchestrated, but the idea that they purposefully get together at the 100-year point to decide on the crisis. So this is really important in terms of our evolution. Then I read an article on quantum physics. And what stood out is that there are all these possibilities in front of us, many ways we can go. And the way that we wind up going is what we can attract to us. And so that made me realize how important our work is in terms of being co-creators. It gave me a larger vision on how co-creation happens in terms of the quantum field and the idea of attracting through your intention, through magnetization, the future that you want. And then I'm in a class with Francis Donald where we're going through esoteric astrology, and we're in the section on triangles. And it talked about every triangle is made up of 3 points. The top point is called the emanating point, and that point qualifies the whole triangle. And it made me realize that the triangle of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity is qualified by Shambhala. So I had thought in my mind that there's will and purpose, there's love, there's intelligence, but rather the triangle is qualified by Shambhala as the emanating point. And so it qualifies the second point, which is hierarchy or the Christ, and it blends with it. It's a wonderful description on how that works. And then that point moves to the third point, which is the magnetic point. And from there, there's a bottom triangle, and it's the distribution. And it made me look at the idea of both wave and particle. And I realized that the wave or the line in which energy is directed and comes through is like a single line. And where you stand is the field or the particles that emanate forth. And so I've had experiences in my meditation recently, which are much more defined, if you will. So, for instance, in the American meditation, we work with the avatar of synthesis. So it was the avatar of synthesis as the emanating point, blending with Shambhala as the second point, and so they blended together, and then it went to Christ, to hierarchy, and then it opened up into the field, and it was that place, the field itself, that held the point before opposites happen. So it wasn't blending of opposites so much as standing at a point where there wasn't the opposition. And I understood how to do that and how to emanate from that point in a very different way. And in the past, I would move up into the fields, and it was harder to articulate the energy as well, standing here as humanity or the new group of world servers moving up here. But if you follow this line, I could get back to the avatar synthesis. I could retrace the pattern. I could hold the energetic in a way that was much more defined, I guess is the best way. And I could work with it much more specifically and cleanly by really understanding the science behind triangles and the way that it is explained. And so to me, those were pieces for this point in time where we are of how we need to really refine our skills, if you will, as a group, as a large group whole, because it is incumbent on us to support both the externalization, the return of the Christ, but also the elevation of humanity itself. And so to try to bring humanity up to the point where there isn't the play of opposites, but above that is a point that I've been working with in this month. And I personally am liking the shift. I think that it's effective. Thank you.
Judy, it's Bart again. Thank you very much for clarifying that dilemma. It really is wonderful, and it's very helpful. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Bart. Thank you. I will just state that the pages are 459 through 464, if anybody wants to look at the science of triangles.
I would like to share 3 points that occupy me lately. One is about building Christ avenues. Maybe it goes with Judy, what you said, to work in a more defined way. More specific. What is it that that we can do to prepare the path for him in our field of service? So to work more, more specific, to dare to work more specifically with our responsibility. They can say more about that. The other thing that goes together with it is, and I think I have shared this in previous meetings, the importance that I see in anchoring our work of a lifetime. Many of us are going towards the end of our incarnation. How can we anchor this work so that the new generation can pick it up? And the third point is to safeguard ourselves in this precarious transition period through using our wisdom and intuition, to have our antennas out, what's happening in the world, and how can we safeguard ourselves and our space, and perhaps even building safe spaces for others. Perhaps even for externalizing higher ones. So,
I may share, I have spoken with a friend recently about the intense times we are going through, and she said something to me, um, something like, allow the clarity to settle without urgency. And indeed, that reminded me of self-care, really self-care necessary for the entire equipment to reach the mountaintop. There is nothing to be forgotten, actually. We need our bodies, emotions, concrete mind. They all need tending to, and they, it's in this incarnation they're bringing us up there, and it's extremely important, I believe, that nothing is left behind, nobody.
Je vais essayer en français. Activez vous m'entendez en français, c'est bon? Alexander, je peux parler? Ou activez vos traductions, voilà. Euh, du coup,
It's didn't show up yet on my screen. Can you please start talking? I'm sure if it's working.
Play.
Ça va.
c'est bon? It's good?
On va essayer, en fait. On va dire que tu parles et alors, ah voilà, ça marche apparemment.
Ça marche, ok. Euh, du coup, on a travaillé euh, dans notre groupe, là, il y a quelques jours, on a eu une conférence par Ursule Arabe et Vincent Glassens, une conférence de la communauté, Ursule Arabe de la communauté d'éthique vivante. Oui.
Pardon, Christine, it's not working. Can you please check the setting that you selected French as your speaking language?
Alors, j'aurais essayé. Ma langue parlée. Je mets l'anglais.
Non, tu mets français, en fait. Pour la langue parlée, il faut mettre, toi, tu dois mettre français.
Oui, c'est ce qu'il y avait. C'est bon?
That's...
Est-ce que ça marche?
Let's try. Mhm.
Euh, I- I-
Essayons.
J'essaye. I try. Euh, c'était Vivre le ciel en nous, la conférence. Et du coup, je fais la résonance avec la méditation qu'a fait Uta tout à l'heure hein, sur le son. Dans Vivre le ciel en nous, c'était vraiment, il y avait le son qui résonnait, le son un son qui venait du cosmos, voilà. Et en fait, l'impression était que nous étions ce son. C'était pas seulement le son du cosmos, mais il y avait une synthèse qui se produisait en nous. On était dans une unité de ce son. Et du coup, dans la méditation, là, tout à l'heure, hein, qu'on vient de faire, euh, j'avais cette impression c'était un rayon de lumière verte, voilà, du coup, un rayon vert qui venait du cosmos et qui venait vers la Terre. Enfin, c'est symbolique, hein, voilà, du coup, évidemment, c'est le rayon 3 du Capricorne, hein, mais bon, la lumière verte. Mais par contre, ce rayon, il venait nous imprégner. Et notre rôle, du coup, en tant que en tant qu'intergroupe et que serviteur du monde, c'était vraiment de rester immobile, comme si dans notre alignement sur Shambhala et sur la hiérarchie, voilà, du coup, dans cet alignement, il s'agissait vraiment d'être des sentinelles. C'est l'impression, être sentinelle, et je reviens sur ce que tu disais aussi, Uta, tout à l'heure, euh, et Daniela aussi, d'être cette notion de protection. En fait, à la fois, on est protégé, mais on est protecteur. Voilà, du coup, protecteur pour l'humanité. Je reviens sur ce mot sentinelle. Voilà, sentinelle et protecteur. Et cette notion d'immobilité, euh, il fallait que ce qui nous est, comme si ce qui nous est demandé, c'est de rester euh, intérieurement immobile, pas dans l'ancrage, hein, dans l'action sur le plan physique, sur le plan manifesté, oui, mais intérieurement. Et là, il y a on est traversé. Et c'est là qu'il s'agit de créer, d'agir. Et je reviens sur la notion des jeunes dont on a parlé. Du coup, effectivement, on fait partie des personnes plus âgées. Voilà, du coup, on n'est pas dans les plus jeunes. Et c'est quelque chose qui arrive, c'est comme s'il y a des contacts avec les jeunes qui arrivent, quand on s'y ouvre, ils viennent du coup, répondre à leurs demandes dans des termes adaptés, leur parler dans des termes qui sont adaptés à ce qu'ils peuvent comprendre, mais ils comprennent beaucoup en fait. Énergétiquement, ils comprennent. C'est comme si la compréhension parfois dépasse le mental. Il y a comme enfin, j'ai observé, j'ai eu cette impression. Voilà, du coup, ce que je vous ai dit. Ah oui, et du coup aussi, quand cette énergie, ce rayon nous traverse, on est tous ensemble dans une synthèse. Et du coup, je disais, voilà, Ursula qui nous a fait la conférence de la communauté d'éthique vivante, avec cette coopération, donc elle l'a fait dans le cadre de notre association Pont Arc-en-Ciel, voilà, du coup, et qui vise la coopération des groupes. Du contact de tous les groupes. Et là, c'est ce que j'ai perçu dans la méditation tout à l'heure. C'est cette synthèse qu'on constitue tous ensemble. Il n'y a plus un groupe ou tant de groupes. On est c'est plus qu'une unité, c'est vraiment une synthèse. Il y a quelque chose d'intense. euh, et, hum, et du coup, à ce moment-là, ça amène la transparence qui vient, euh, euh, qui vient, qui vient enlever, voilà, qui vient enlever tous les obstacles sur la Terre avec tout ce qui se passe actuellement dans le monde. Dans notre activité, voilà, c'est une activité que de transmettre cette énergie, y compris, comme on disait, avec les jeunes. Voilà, je sens que c'est très important aussi. Euh, et du coup, la cristallisation, voilà, c'est vraiment comme si cette énergie de Shambhala amenait ça rendait plus visible tout ce qui était des obstacles à l'énergie à l'énergie de vie, à l'énergie qui arrive pour l'externalisation de la hiérarchie, hein, bien sûr. Euh, et du coup, ça met, hum, voilà, cette énergie de Shambhala cristallise les obstacles pour pouvoir les détruire. J'ai eu cette impression. Voilà. Il fallait les rendre visibles. Et donc toutes les guerres, tout ce qui se passe actuellement, voilà, c'est de plus en plus visible, c'est de plus en plus extrême. Mais en même temps, c'est comme si c'était la décision de Shambhala de permettre cette cristallisation, d'accélérer la cristallisation pour faire exploser les obstacles, enfin les éliminer totalement. Voilà. Merci beaucoup.
For some reason, the translation didn't work on our screen. I don't know how it was for others, but some of us understand French. Most don't. My apologies, Christine. Last time they worked just fine. Today they didn't work.
But it was still great to have this import of this energy that came through you. Thank you.
We'll try to figure out the technology for the next time.
Thank you, Christine. I did understand and very much resonate with what you're saying.
Thank you, Christine. The heart of your sharing came through very clearly. I've been very touched lately by the walking monks who are traveling on foot across the US. I'm not sure if you've all met them, but it's worth, if you haven't, it would be worth following up, because they are modeling this deep, quiet, noble presence, and inviting our collective to consider the possibility of peace. And they are drawing literally a line of peace across the conflict that's being expressed in the US at the moment. And it's a very moving and inspiring walk to witness. And you know, in that, they are also modeling self-care, and through that, extending the invitation to others to give themselves permission to take care of themselves and to turn up in a quiet, deep way, whatever way that we are all able to. Yeah, and it's just a very hope engendering and inspiring group initiative, which feels so congruent at this time. Yeah.
Yes, it is very much supporting, I believe, what is the group recognition for this time is the importance of actually walking the talk. Yeah, in many ways. And I believe we started this conversation about the ending of the era of the Forerunner, I would say a year ago, when we start coming up to 2025. And then I believe the time of conclave, the higher interlude, and then Cancer, the moment of all that energy going into incarnation. The Gemini I felt very important, you know, the moment of Gemini, this connecting with this Christ presence. And the realization at that point was that it only works if we need it. Like, no, the electricity starts only if we flip the switch, you know. If we don't, it's there, but we don't need it, you know. And so this practice of using those energies and weaving them into our daily life, our daily group life, that is the moment of transference from Cancer to Capricorn, and this shift to Aquarian group to the Aquarian energies that are available to the group to serve. And not only to serve, but as we see in Capricorn clearly, that clarity that is so beautiful for the soul. It's hard for personality. It's not easy. It needs to be developed into this inner decision for change, in a like impulse to change. But you know, as Bart said in the beginning, you know, astrologically we are so supported with that. You know, it's clearly amazing how things are being supportive, you know, because right now we have the stellium in Capricorn, which is now at the peak of like this connecting and bridging to Aquarius, because while Sun and Mercury is still in Capricorn, you know, Venus has moved into Aquarius, like it clears the way. It comes up to connecting with Pluto, and then the whole stellium is going to be joining this conjunction. So the cleanse that is coming, it's not just as I read in one of astrological reviews, and I really agree with that. It's not just changing the scenery; it's changing the stage we're going to be acting on. And if we think about Saturn and Neptune coming up back to the first degree of Aries, this is the change of stage of a magnitude again that we haven't experienced, I don't know how many thousand years. It's an opportunity. And it's good for us to look deeply, because Saturn, it rules Capricorn, but before the new rule is for Aquarius, it also considered to be the rule of Aquarius. So still, the shift, and the main shift to me is the shift to the group work, to recognizing ourselves as a group, even with our individual realizations and intuition. Still, the group intuition and group revelation prevails, and we're slowly moving into this different stage. And the crisis that we're experiencing, I also do believe that it's good for us to see how it resonates with our inner crisis, what can be done from within our individual lives. Where do we support those sides of crisis that we see, and we can resolve it within ourselves and within the group. So therefore, we create this flow of resolution of the crisis within, and just invoke the higher support to resolve it without. So
That's beautiful. It's Bart again, and I was just concerned with Uda's three goals, so to speak, and Katja just touched upon it. There is protection in group work. We do our individual aspirations merge into the purposeful intent of the group, and it is strengthened and protected by each of our desire. I was reading, Judy, it was lovely to have you share that thing with triangles, and I've also been reading in the 6 Rules for Discipleship, and on the very first page, going into it, is discipleship and pain. The breaking of these crystallized forms are going to affect us each individually because of government, of war, of our sympathy with those who suffer and are also taken out. But on page 677 of Discipleship in the New Age 1, Dajwal Kul enumerates what pain does for the disciple. It's worth a read. It's very hard. It's very hard for us. There is strength in what? The bundle is stronger than the single straw. We, if we be lifted up, will draw, being the amplifying cause of joy. I know this is true. Thank you.
Bart. It's the exact time of the new moon at this moment. So let us hold the silence now, and Claire, over to you when you feel to sound the mantra of light on our behalf.
radiance we are and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. Om.
Very resonate with what's been said about the recognizing where's the point of crisis touches us inside and where we resonate with that crisis within us, and that's our point of tension that's we have a possibility to resolve. And I personally recognize, especially in the last few months, that getting in a position of the observer, even if it's my own crisis or some larger crisis that plays out through me and in my environment, shifting in a position of the observer and recognize and observe what is reacting within me, what parts of me actually becomes the conduit for the crisis. And because of that, I started recognizing the value of the observer in a larger scale, recognizing the larger crisis happening in the world, and stand in that position of recognizing, witnessing, and yet emanating the radiating the note that is congruent with the my higher self. And I think that's what is expected from all of us to, as we stand as observers, to be radiating points, to transmitting outlets for higher frequency, for the frequency which is contrary to what creates the crisis. And I will read what Michelina wrote in the chat. Good evening, everyone. In recent days, listening to a video by Planetary System on Sirius, I immediately felt the urge to connect the group of servants with the three constellations, Ursa Major, the Pleiades, and the star Sirius, Sun Sirius. For me, it's important to have constant with the powerful energies that nourish us and slowly help us to free ourselves from the dark past we have experienced. I don't know if I wrote it well in English. Yes, thank you, Michelina. It's very clear.
Are there yods in this new moon configuration with everything? It's just Judy's mentioned of the triangle. I thought I'd heard that there were yods as well, but I may be very wrong on that. But Judy's mention of the triangle and that the point was the Shambhala point. Did I get that right, Judy?
It wasn't specific to this astrology.
No, but it's in general, and I just thought of the other triangle as the yod is a triangle. And the point of the yod is the point that needs the work, if I'm right, and the two legs are how you do it. And I was just thinking, oh, I wonder if there is a yod on this one. And what would the point be? What would be the point that we were looking to help? Or that's all.
No, I'm not sure, Kiki, but even if there isn't, information, there's definitely yod pointing clearly where the point of change is happening, and it's this shift, And I believe it's not going to be really easy for us because we shifted the element. Really, we went through. We're going into air, which is a very different element. It's powerful, but like if you think of the earth element, it's known, it's stable, we really anchored in it. And the air is everything that we need. Everything needs the nurturing air. All the elements need it, to survive. And yet at the same time, we need to learn how to fly. We need to come to that point of being able to do that. And yes. And the triangles, Judy, and it's just, I remember somehow interesting. I remember that there's a emanating point, and the second is a qualifying point, and then the point of distribution. And when you go down for humanity, then the qualifying points becomes the emanating point. The distributing becomes the qualifying, and then humanity is distributing, and then the energy goes in this amazing flow of 8. But it is one of the most important parts of the flow of energy. So thank you for bringing it in. It's it is basically essentially what we are told to do, to learn how to move energy and move with energy in the group formation. Yeah. So how we see.
Yeah. The other piece, just to respond to Michelina's sharing, is that the cosmic triangle of the Great Bear, Sirius, and Pleiades are the 3 energies that descend energies. So the Great Bear into Shambhala, Sirius into hierarchy and the Christ, and Pleiades into humanity. And they actually, in the book, show the triangles through that descending energy to bring it into our system. And it is Capricorn that aligns with the Pleiades, then to Mercury, and then it brings it into the Ajna center of humanity. And that's how active intelligence comes in to our system, to our planetary system from the cosmos. So just understanding those triangles even, and the fact that the Great Bear, which holds the 7 rays, is what comes through in Shambhala. It qualifies what we do for me anyway, in a more refined way of how the system is totally connected and what are the constellations that support that energy coming down and what are the planets that bring it through and how we can connect with it. But here we are in Capricorn, and it is the energy of the Pleiades bringing it through to humanity. It's Capricorn that does that, with Mercury, who happens to be basically conjunct right now the sun. So very interesting.
I'm not particularly au fait with the astrological way of looking at things, but all these triangles of energy, and I noticed this when Katya was speaking, I'm very conscious of all these lines of energy, although I don't always know exactly what they are. But you use the word, Katya, of manipulation and changing the different directions. And I'm just reminded of DK saying that healing is simply the manipulation of energy. And I think there is a huge healing going on in the cosmos at the moment. And it's all to do with these energy lines and these triangles precipitating and distributing and connecting with each other. And the other thing I've noticed in our groups recently is that telepathy is increasing. And again, there seem to be these lines of energy, these triangles between members of the group and between groups and different groups, and then also with hierarchy and these energies flowing down through these triangles in these different directions and coming down. So thank you.
Helen, in the triangles meditation of the triangles group, it specifies a visualization of seeing a personal triangle that you might be a part of, attaching to all the web that covers the whole earth. And there is a sentence there that says, and the energy flows both ways, around and about, and seeps down into those in need. So I go with what you're saying. I hear.
Probably the teachings on the triangles is the most practical piece of information that we have in the books, because pretty much the entire astrology is based on recognition of how the energy moves, and it moves via the triangles. Like the universe is electric, and so this triplicity of emanating, qualifying, and perceiving points, that's underlies the pretty much the science of directing energy. And so when we meditate as a group, especially during the full moons, and using the triangles of energies, recognizing that emanating point is a Shambhala, and that the hierarchy qualifies it with love, and we stand in a point of receptivity as humanity. It's a very practical, it's not just visualizations, it's recognition and therefore direction of the energy of certain way as we meditate. But the same happens with any astrological triangles, the triangles of planets or signs. That's how we invoke and activate the flow of energy. So it's very practical information that we can utilize in our service. And Uta was talking about the Christ Avenue. It's a beautiful symbol that came up at the creative lab team meetings, and that we started using it for in our nation's lab meditation. It's about visualization of the energy coming through this sixfold progression. But when we visualize the presence of the triangles of the avatars, when we visualize the triangle of Shambhala hierarchy humanity, it's become very practical, and we recognize that that's how the energy directed and ends up in stimulating hearts and minds of people. It's all through purposeful, intentional direction of energy.
And the Tibetan says in Cosmic Fire, I don't remember the page, but he says that the ability of humanity to shift from the square pattern of energy movement into triangle is equal to that, the step is equal to that of individualization. So it is our true purpose. And shifting from the square to triangle and dissect that square into triangles, and ability to invoke this, it is healing. It is healing and revitalizing the dead body of humanity. So, yeah, it is our goal. Hold on.
When I look at what other things have connected in my subjective life through this month, certainly the energies and its refinement have been foremost. But even as Uta led us in the meditation today, the idea of where we stand, hearing the note and the quality of note or vibration and how it expands and where it's held is a refinement that I'm starting to be able to discern. And realizing that every one of those subplanes holds a different quality, if you will, and trying to understand what is the quality. So we talk about purpose, quality, appearance. And when you see an appearance, can you stand as the trained observer and understand where that vibration actually is coming from? So that's something that I have been working with. And the idea of daring, if we're there to stand in daring, where does daring come? What is the quality? Where can I find it? What is its note? And so I really have been this month, especially, much more in tune to the subtleties of the constitution of man, if you will, but looking at the energetics and how they shift in the subplanes and where we stand and where we project from. And as trained observers, I think it's really important so that you can elevate yourself as high as possible to understand not the appearance from a higher level. So just to share.
I've been giving a lot of thought to the mantra of the will, and I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square. The square is the form, and the triangle divine is our higher selves. And of course, the form transmutes upwards, but we have to work downwards into the form. It kind of goes along with the two triangles together in the figure eight flowing, and each person has their own route. But when we say we, the triangle divine, it strengthens that work, and the form becomes the earth or humanity. And we send that divinity in its extra strength that we work as a group into this larger form of which we are all atoms. It's really quite beautiful. It's hard to put words to, but Judy does a good job. And that mantra is really the most, not the most, it's most important. I love the mantra of the will too, but the will of God, you know, the mantra of the will, taken in a group point of view, is extraordinarily powerful in my point of view. And I've been seeing that happen here. The larger groups need all the help of the smaller groups, yet we're all part of the biggest group, which is humanity. And we're trying to spiritualize it and help itself. And of course, we all know this.
Getting close to the end of the meeting. So if anyone else would like to offer your recognitions or to what became most resonant through what we've been shared so far, please.
I'd just like to say one thing, the word observer, which I think you brought up, Alexander, particularly, the connection between the ob and the server, because server or because service, and how important the observation is as a service.
I tend to operate from the first ray in service to love and wisdom. And I've been in dismay because my will has not been, it's been such a useful way of organizing and proceeding by will and then in service with love and wisdom. And so this entire, our discussions today and the framework that some of these things that each of you have shared, I so admire and appreciate your scholarship and devotion to this body of material, because it does inform, and it informs in an objective way. And so I'm as I was just starting with Uda's guidance with moving from the tones, as we moved into different kind of levels or consciousnesses, it moved from tone to light for me. And that made sense when I thought about it later, that in matter, light might be expressed by tone, and vice versa. So anyway, it's relieving a tremendous stress, because I was just wondering if as I was having nervous breakdown, I was becoming dysfunctional because I was so used to having my will, like running things. And my tone was not a single tone. It was a bunch of notes, which surprised me. And then the group tone was more harmonious and whatever. So I'm a clairsentient and clairaudient mainly. That's the way I learn and understand. So all of this is really helping me. And the quote about deciding which crisis would be the best learning tool for humanity gives it was such a relief to have that perspective of this chaos and of this suffering, that I've been witnessing raw and not really having a context to put into. So I just want to also just really express my gratitude for this.
So we're preparing now to close our time together in our virtual etheric space where we meet regularly. And as always, I invite Daniela to close our work. And as we prepare to disconnect on our computers, we still continue holding our connectivity. And it's one of the main gains that what we learned through this last years is that telepathy is not just about communication. It's about holding this living, vibrant connection between us. And so that stays with us as we close our Zooms. So over to you, Daniela.
Thank you. And before we close our Zooms, I just needed to repeat it because it sounds good. Let's finish our gathering with the last sentence of the Great Invocation, where we will gather the light and love and power, bringing onto the earthly plane, offer blessing to humanity, and then form the Dhamma Chakra Mudra for the 3 Ohms. Okay. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Om. Om. Om.
Much gratitude.